Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. I am really excited to be here. Who's a Warriors fan in the house? Come on. Very good. I am so excited about the technical nuance we're going to get into today. We have AI. We have facing customers. I'm going to be joined by Daniel Brusilovsky. He's Vice President of Technology for the Golden State Warriors. He's in his 10th season. How many folks watched the Warriors game last night where they beat the Lakers? Now, we have a couple Lakers fans on my team, but they have obviously made the wrong choice because the Warriors are the best in the business. That's what we think. Speaking of best in the business, SADA is Google Cloud's back-to-back partner of the year. We've done more implementations and migrations than all of our competitors combined. I'm happy to work with all of you as we talk through exactly how to build systems just like this in your business. But, we've really got to get into the nuance and the details. The work that we've done is visually stunning. Anybody want to take a look at what it looks like? Maybe we could roll a little tape. All right, everybody, join me in a big welcome for Daniel Brusilovsky. He's VP of Technology at the Golden State Warriors. Okay. Daniel, thank you for taking the time. Really glad you could be here.
Thanks for having me, Miles.
So, we've talked before how many folks are Warriors fans. How many folks are sports fans all over?
Okay, there we go. Okay. Did I hear some boos when you asked if there are any Warriors fans?
Yeah, that's just not right.
Those must be Lakers fans.
Yeah.
That's okay.
But for, perhaps the little more digitally inclined in the audience, maybe, you could explain exactly who the Warriors are.
Yes, so we're a basketball team founded in 1946 in Philadelphia. Very long, historic organization with a lot of history. Have won 7 NBA championships, most recently in 2022 when we beat the Boston Celtics. But it's been a really storied organization, one of the original NBA teams as well. And so there's a lot of history that comes with the Warriors organization that sometimes a lot of folks don't realize because we were originally founded in Philadelphia. So long storied past, amazing organization, and we feel like we're just getting started.
What a legacy to build on. That's pretty epic. What's your role with the Warriors?
Yeah, so I oversee technology. So technology obviously means a lot in today's day and age, and so there's 2 parts of technology for us. One is the fan-facing side, which we call consumer products. So that's everything our fans touch, feel, see, experience, both from an in-venue perspective, but also at home. You can imagine we are a global brand. Our game is viewed all over the world, and so we need to engage with our fans and our customers all over the world as well. And so the product team is really focused on how do we use technology to enable that experience that we create for our fans in venue and at a home. And then the second is our IT team, and that's more of your typical enterprise IT group, network, systems, cyber, cloud, application development, support, all of the arena technology as well. There's a lot behind the scenes that our fans never see, and that's on purpose, by the way. And so those 2 groups make up technology holistically at the Warriors, and we support the entire organization. It's not just the basketball team. That's obviously the core of what we do, but owning and operating Chase Center, we have the Santa Cruz Warriors, our G League team, their arena and office down in Santa Cruz. We have an esports operation. We have Golden State Entertainment, which is our entertainment arm. So we find ourselves awfully busy. And then most recently, we just announced that we've been awarded a WNBA expansion franchise, which is going to start playing at Chase Center in 2025. So we're staying busy up in the Bay.
Well, speaking of two teams, we were talking a little about this bit of a rivalry at SADA between the Warriors folks and the Lakers folks. The SADA team members who've made the correct choice.
Yes.
They go to Warriors games. You got a whole bunch of us that are here on stage. So we try to support our customers in every way that we can. But it's such an incredible fan experience. So thank you for such a contribution for California and for NBA fans everywhere.
We're going to give Tony a very hard time for his continued support of the Lakers.
Yeah,
and one day we will get Tony, the CEO of SADA. We're going to get him to switch his allegiance.
That's right. That's right. He's turning in his jersey.
Exactly.
And look at the smiling faces, but look at how much technology, right? The facilities are festooned in screens. Yeah. There's cameras and monitors and analysis happening all over the place. It's a digital experience as much as it's a fan experience.
Yeah, that scoreboard that you see in the middle there is the largest scoreboard for an indoor venue in North America, over 25 million pixels. So it takes a lot to power that thing, but it also enables us to do a lot with it in terms of displaying so much more data around the game than we've ever been able to before. And so that's a big part of what we do with Google Cloud is tell the story of the data behind what's happening on the court. So that's a great picture of a shot chart and a game recap of what happened during that game. Which, of course, if you notice, we were up 72-60 on the Brooklyn Nets.
You're done. Yeah. That's right. That's right. And I mean, and these are not just sort of facilities that are doing the work kind of narrowly. This is a giant technical infrastructure, just as impressive out in front of his fans as the back of house. Can you talk about kind of how our project together kicked off? How do we get back to the rack?
Yeah. So to answer that, we actually have to take a pretty big step back. So. That step back actually goes to 2010. So in 2010, Joe Lacob, Peter Guber, and their group bought the Warriors for what was then a record $450 million. And everyone thought they were crazy because the Warriors had not been known as a winning franchise for a very long time, but had always been viewed as kind of a diamond in the rough. If it just got into the right hands with the right resources behind it, something special could happen. And so Joe and Peter bought the franchise in 2010. And one of the things that they quickly realized was that we needed a place to actually call home. For 47 incredible seasons, we played in Oakland, California. But the challenge with playing in Oakland was that we didn't own or operate the venue.
Right.
And so in today's day and age, when the customer experience is so paramount, it's really tough to create the optimal customer experience when you don't actually own the venue or operate the venue that you're creating that experience in. And so we started a very long journey of what does a future home for the Golden State Warriors actually look like. And so what you see on the top right is the culmination of really over a decade of work. It really started when Joe and Peter bought the team in 2010 to this venue opening in 2019. And it's so much more than an arena. That was the other really big thing that we really honed in on, was that it had to be a mixed-use development. When we were playing in Oakland, the venue was great because of the experience of all the people that made it, right? The fans and those moments when Steph hits a three or all those games during the finals. But there was nothing to do before, after, or on a non-game day. And so one of the big things that we wanted to really do was create a district, an area that you can come to regardless of if there's a game or not. Mm-hmm. And so what you're seeing in the picture in the top right is our entire campus, which is 11 acres. Chase Center is obviously the centerpiece, 18,064-seat arena. Right in front, we have a 3-acre outdoor plaza with the largest outdoor video board in San Francisco, where we've had some pretty incredible watch parties, yoga, movie nights, concerts. We've done a really great job of programming that space. You're also seeing 2 office towers, one on the north and one on the south. That's actually a joint venture with Uber. That's their global headquarters. And then on the bottom parts of the office towers and wrapping around to the water side, we have about 100,000 square feet of retail. So bars, restaurants, breweries. So the idea was that this was a destination 365 days a year.
Right.
But in order to create the experience, you'll hear me talk a lot about experience because we are in the business of creating world-class experiences. In order to create experiences, you need technology.
Yep.
And so that's why we have to give a little bit of context to answer the question, is because there's a lot that went into basically opening this project in 2019. And one of the biggest things we realized is that in Oakland, when we didn't own or operate, we didn't have a lot of technology to bring over. We actually, in my opinion, it was actually a great situation to be in because I could start from scratch.
That's right.
And as an organization, we could start from scratch. And so during the design process, which started many, many years before a shovel even went into the ground, we identified a few key areas where we thought we were going to need partners to help us bring a vision to life. And one of the areas that we really focused on was this idea of cloud and infrastructure. And I don't think in 2017, when we were talking about this, AI was going to be as big of a part as we realized it is today. Yep. But we were even talking about some of those things, AI, ML, back in 2017, 18, prior to the building opening in 2019. And so for us, we really needed a partner who, one, had the technology. First and foremost, we needed someone who we could trust, who could actually deliver the technology that we could integrate. But the second is that we needed someone who actually understood our vision and could actually bring that vision to life. And I think that's sometimes more important than the technology.
Sure.
Technology is technology, right? You can change, develop, all that kind of stuff, iterate. But a vision is your North Star. And that you don't really want to change, because when you're building a project of this magnitude, you don't really want that North Star changing every month, right? We had to create this North Star and really work backwards from what are we trying to do as an organization in this venue, and then leverage the right technology to actually help us enable those experiences. And so that's where our relationship with Google Cloud really started, was that we needed to work with the experts. And we are smart enough to know that we are the experts in a lot of areas. I would say winning basketball games is one of them. Doing incredible work in the community, I think, is another big one that I think we are very, very proud of the work we do with our community relations team and our foundation. But we are not experts in is cloud infrastructure,
right,
and compute and all these different things. Like, that's not what we are good at. And so we needed to partner with someone who could help us do that and help us build it from scratch. And so it started with Google Cloud and them holding our hands and giving us the white glove service. And then once they got us off the ground, they handed us over to you, Miles, and said, take it from here. And now it's been this great relationship between us, Google Cloud, and SADA, actually helping take this vision and turn it into a reality.
Steph does threes, not three-tier architecture.
Yeah, exactly.
Swim lanes in this thing. So as you're approaching innovation, right, you're diving in. This is not one piece, one project. It's a whole program of collaborative work. What's the thought process for building tech? How do you approach this?
Yeah, so I think a lot of organizations sometimes get stuck a little bit on using tech for tech's sake. And that's something that we as an organization are really focused on, using technology as an enabler for our business, not the reason why. I think it's really easy, especially today, to get caught in, there's so much happening, so much buzz, so many buzzwords, and it's just easy to fall into kind of a trap a little bit and just do all these different things. But for us, we've been so laser focused around having that North Star, both from the construction and opening Chase Center, but then also from our OKRs as an organization, and really being able to track how are we being successful as a company. And those are things like creating world-class experiences. Really easy to say, really hard to execute. And so what we always start with are, what are those end goals that we are trying to achieve? What do we want to do from a parking and transportation perspective, from a food and beverage perspective, from ingress and egress, from ticket management and wayfinding, all the things that make up your experience, and then how do we use technology to enable every single aspect of that journey? And so that's where, when we talk about really technology being an enabler, it's in those areas. So when we think about, okay, it's not just when you want to come to a game and you show up, but there's a whole process of buying a ticket to that event. Whether it's a game, whether it's a concert, whether it's just showing up for a free event in Thrive City, you have to plan. And so we have to really think through every single part of that consumer experience and that customer journey to make sure that we're providing as much value to our consumer so that they have an effortless and frictionless experience every single step of the way. So for us, it's really marrying how does technology help enable versus just using technology for the sake of using technology.
We were always so impressed. It is hard to do this technical work, but it's twice as hard if you don't know where you're trying to go. And collaborating with a partner that is as focused and driven, competitive, right? It's incredible to be inspired by a sports environment because it has that same kind of drive. So we were just always so happy to work with your teams because we could be intuitive together, right? It wasn't this, wasn't an obscure or an open-ended goal. We're off trying to really change the experience for fans everywhere. So really a fun way to do that. Let's talk maybe more narrowly, the result of the idea sessions and the collaboration. Where did we actually get? What did we build?
Yeah, so I would say close to 2 years ago, we were down in Sunnyvale at the Google Cloud campus, and every summer we go with our extended team and kind of do our session where we kind of throw everything on the whiteboard and try to figure out what ideas we want to work on and kind of what's important both from our business, but then also what technology is coming down the pipeline that can help us actually solve some of these problems. And 2 years ago, AI was definitely a big conversation, obviously not as big as it is right now, but we saw kind of that writing that, okay, there's a shift happening in the industry, and there's a shift in technology infrastructure happening. And so one of the ideas that we threw out was that we have an immense amount of content that we both create, whether it's articles, photos, videos. I mean, imagine after every single Warriors game and before every Warriors game, we're creating a game preview, there's a game recap, there's associated photo galleries and videos, and like there's a lot of content.
Just a media fire hose.
Exactly, that times 82, plus playoffs, plus preseason. It's a lot of content that gets created. But how are we getting content to the right people at the right time on the right device in a way that makes sense for them? And so that was an area that we kind of honed in and said, there's probably some technology here that can help us get content to our fans in a more personalized way. And so what we decided to actually work on was this recommendation engine powered by now Vertex AI, and we built a pilot probably a little over 6 months ago now. And the idea is that we are pulling in an immense amount of the content that we create, plus all the data and analytics that we're tracking on the back end as well to understand behavior. What is happening? What events are people clicking on? What articles are people clicking on? And then can we do a good enough job of recommending what you think you may be interested next? And so what you're seeing here are actually screenshots of chasecenter.com. This is actually our new design, which is going to launch in a few months. But we wanted to give you all a sneak peek of some of the new design.
Preview.
Yeah, exactly. But what you're seeing here in the tile where it says Chase Center News, the idea is that every single person in this room will see something different on this tile because it's pulling in information based off what you've engaged with either historically or what's trending right now. And it'll be all more contextualized based off what you are interested in. So this is one area where it's showing you articles. The next area, if you go to the next slide, is showing you upcoming events. So these are 4 shows that have already happened at Chase Center, but you can imagine we have a lot of content in our building. Our goal is to have over 150 events per year inside of Chase Center. Only 50 of those are going to be Warriors games. So most of the events in the arena are actually going to be non-Warriors games.
First time I went to the Chase Center was to see the Roots.
Yeah.
Right? All backwards.
Exactly. And so we need to do a really good job of showcasing the amount of really great and diverse content that we have inside the venue. And all the free events that we have in Thrive City as well. So here's an example of here are upcoming events that could be really relevant to fans based off the fact that they selected or they've looked at a rock concert, for example, in the past, or a pop, or R&B, or a family show, or there's so many genres that we're trying to bring to Chase Center. We want to make sure that based off what you're interested in, we're showing you artists that are based on that interest. And so this is another example of how we're going to how we are using the recommendation engine to actually show upcoming events that are tailored based off what you have explained or expressed to us that may be interesting to you.
So I think everybody wants to have a more natural navigation experience, wants to get to the interesting information as quickly as possible. There's a bunch of different ways to do this. Can you talk about the value that customers are receiving as a result of these tech? I know that it's already in use in the earlier version UI than this. Maybe talk about the impact for fans.
Yeah, I think for us as an organization, something we talk a lot about is personalization. There's 18,064 seats inside a Chase Center, and that could potentially mean 18,064 different experiences for that one specific event, game, concert, whatever it may be. And so we are constantly thinking about how do we create more of that personalized experience so that every single fan who enters the building feels like they're having a tailored experience. Whether it's the type of food that you're into, whether it's the way you actually get to the venue. We are a public transit first venue, and so we want to make sure that people, even just getting to Chase Center, have a really smooth experience. But that doesn't mean that every single person is going to do the exact same thing. And so we are looking at, again, every single step of that customer journey to figure out how are we creating something that's really tailored to that individual fan to make their experience as frictionless and seamless as possible?
Yeah, so you're going to go through not just recommendation in the website, but recommendation in the venue, recommendation across all the contexts as folks interact.
Exactly.
Can you talk about the use of recommendation AI, the product on the Google side? How did you select that out of the possible alternatives, and how does that work with the goals you've set?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I think a huge kudos to the Google Cloud team, because the amount of APIs that are now available to just basically start building, I think it's become easier than ever to just start. I think sometimes with technology, especially I think with AI, it can be a little daunting. And I think sometimes it could be really, it could be a challenge of just identifying where's the right place to just get going and dip your toes. And I think the fact that there's APIs that are just available to start digging into and actually start using and experimenting and playing around with makes it so that we can do these things really quickly with fairly limited resources. One of the things I talk about quite often is that we are a global brand. People know the Golden State Warriors all over the world, but the reality is that we're a little less than 600 people. And so we have to do a lot with a little.
You got to be scrappy. That's
exactly.
Right.
We have to be really lean as an organization. But the other thing is that we're also not a tech company. We're a basketball team. Like, at the end of the day, our core business is being a basketball team. And so we need to invest in the areas that make the most impact. And that's where a lot of the work that we've done with Google Cloud and why it's been so impactful for our business is because the technology has been so easy to integrate with the limited resources that we have. We can take this and really run with it without needing loads and loads of people with huge budgets and resources. Like, we're just not in that position. And so the reason I think we've had so much success in utilizing the entire Google Cloud platform, from BigQuery to Firebase and App Engine and everything in between, is because the products themselves are so easy to actually use that we can do a lot of the work ourselves and then lean on partners like you and the SADA team to help us figure out, okay, how do we bring this vision to life with a little bit more technical expertise?
Well, the pathway for that, I don't know how many folks were in the developer keynote this morning, but the level of effort is getting lower and lower as generative tools start to augment all of the design work, all of the collaboration work, all the coding, all the testing, all the automation for operations work. That's just getting simpler and simpler every day. We hope to continue to give you superpowers so you can, do 5-point shots and 20-point shots instead of just what you're at now today. So,
but isn't that also kind of part of the goal of technology, is to make our jobs and lives easier?
That's right.
And that's, I think, one of the biggest things that we've learned in our journey with Google Cloud is, one, how much more they've empowered us to do as an organization. We always talk about, with the limited resources that we have and the limited people that we have, we need to enable them to do a lot more, but also focus on the areas that make the most impact, which is oftentimes engaging with our fans, engaging with our customers. And so when there's technology out there that enables us to do that, it's such a win-win for us as an organization, but then it also is a win-win for our fans, because they're getting what they want. They're getting the experiences that they expect from an organization like us, and it enables us to continue investing in the fan experience, because at the end of the day, we are in the experience business, and that's what we should be focusing on.
That's right. Well, on the subject of focus, let's move out of first gear and get down into the third gear of technology. How does this actually work? Talk to me about the infrastructure components you're using to deliver the experience.
Yeah, so this is a very, very simplified architecture diagram of how we architected this Vertex AI recommendation engine. So on the left side, you're seeing all of the inputs. So all of the events, all of the games, all the things that are happening at Chase Center. You have all of the news and all the game highlights, all of the content that's being written around every single game. And then something that we've started playing around with recently is also pulling in retail inventory. On the bottom is all the analytics. So we are, as many organizations I'm sure in this room are as well, a very data-driven organization. We track everything religiously, and so we have analytics now coming into that discovery engine. What we've built is this abstraction layer, which we're, in this instance, calling the GSW API. And that's essentially what takes all of the hard work that the discovery engine is doing and makes it so that we can actually integrate it into our products. One of the big things that we stress quite a bit is that this build once, deploy everywhere approach. And so this API is what enables us to take the hard work that the discovery engine is doing and then deploy that to many different products. And so you're seeing mobile, web, and CRM being the three that we've highlighted here, but this could be many more in the future. This could be screens in the arena through our IPTV system. It could be the scoreboard. It could be a lot of different other things. The API is really doing a lot of the hard work of enabling us to then take this data that's coming out of the discovery engine and then being able to implement it across whatever product makes the most sense for us. So it could be the Warriors plus Chase Center mobile app. It could be chasecenter.com. It could be our emails, where you're now going to start seeing more personalized retail recommendations. So that's really what we want to spend our time doing, is focusing on the right side of this screen versus the left side, which is really the hard work of what Google Cloud Platform is doing for us. So we're going to focus on the customer experience of how fans are actually going to experience this. And then Google Cloud and SADA are going to do the rest and make it all seamless for us.
Well, and I hope folks are taken away. There's not a lot about this picture that doesn't translate to every industry, every class of business. Of course, we're trying to take information, process it, and make it useful in our downstream systems. That on our side, we had 2 engineers who were not familiar with the project that you're working on, and all of them were quite concerned that there was a new Google product called the GSW API. And they wanted to know, what is the deal with the GSW API? I was like, well, no. They're kind of Googlers. They're the Golden State Warriors. Yeah. So the technology there is a place where what we're watching is every business is trying to figure this problem out and put it into practice. Let's maybe talk a little about the Google products themselves that back this up.
So this is a little bit more in depth, especially on the content and on the analytics side. So I mentioned our journey with Google Cloud started in 2017. One of the first things that we identified when we went to the Google Cloud team is that we needed a data warehouse. We had not had a data warehouse that we had operated ourselves. We had used a third-party provider in the past. And we quickly identified that with the growth of our organization and the fact that we were going from just a basketball team to a media and entertainment organization that happens to play basketball, there's going to be a lot more data that's going to come with that. And again, being a data-driven organization, we realized that we needed a data warehouse that was actually going to be able to scale with our needs, but also enable future needs. Again, in 2017, we had no idea that we were going to be working on this. But the fact that we've been using BigQuery and have become so immersed in BigQuery made this project, I think, that much easier for us to actually stand up and run with. So on the top, what you're seeing is how the analytics is actually getting into the discovery engine. So through BigQuery, all the raw user events that we talked about are being captured. We have the data flow, which is taking all of the events and then transforming all the events into the discovery engine. On the bottom, you have the content, which is being generated through our content management systems, going through a whole series until it gets to the actual discovery engine. And then we're basically marrying all of that. And then again, it's going out into the API for us to then take into the specific products. So this is a little bit more in depth, but I would say BigQuery has been a massive piece to the success of this project because, one, we've used it for so long, but 2, the ability for us to store all of this data, and a lot of historical data, by the way, as well, and actually be able to take that and turn it into action and into the discovery engine has been huge.
I think BigQuery, it gets some press. It probably doesn't get enough. It's one of the places where all of us as users and consumers of the product, we're all trying to stand on the shoulders of giants. BigQuery is a seriously giant. Internal usage on the Google side can have interactive queries over an exabyte of production data. So as a developer, as an engineer, you just don't have to have that little asterisk in your head where you go, am I going to get too big? Is it going to be an operations problem? Like, it's amazing that an organization as massive, as global as the Golden State Warriors can feel right at home, nice and small and tiny inside of BigQuery.
Well, I think that's an interesting point. I mean, one of the things when we were kind of looking at this space again in 2016, 2017, one of the things we all kind of looked at in the room and said, okay, if this technology works for Google, it probably will work for us. We're much smaller than Google. And the fact that this is the infrastructure that Google runs on as well made us feel pretty confident that, yeah, our 18,000 seat arena can probably run pretty fine on this infrastructure.
I mean, Google runs on it, but SADA runs on it as well. If I can handle it.
Yeah, if it's good enough for Miles, it's good enough for me.
That's right. So look, I appreciate all the technical nuance. I know we have a bunch of folks that are interested in the architecture here in the audience. You've got a wealth of experience and hands-on familiarity with how these tools work in practice. There's a killer team here that's ready to help. I want to take questions. Like, the most interesting stuff we're going to get from today's talk is, your questions interacting with this architecture and the experience we both got. So looking forward to hearing what you've got to say. As you think about the Q&A process, and we're going to get to it, what learnings can you share? What should folks take away as they think about their project on cloud?
Yeah, so there's a few. I think one that we've learned during this process is that it's really easy to not necessarily get distracted, but it's very easy to look at all the shiny objects and not have that focus of where do we begin. And so for us, one of the things that we kind of said from the bat is we can only take on a handful of projects a year. Mm-hmm. So we have to be really focused on what are those projects that are going to make the most impact. And so I think having focus and discipline was really important to us, to identifying this project, but then also how are we integrating this across the business.
Sure.
I think that's one thing. I think the other part is that we as an organization really lean in with thinking from that consumer standpoint. Mm-hmm. What do our fans want and expect from us? Something we do quite a bit as an organization is we track both our brand health, NPS, and customer satisfaction religiously. And so we do a lot with surveying our fans in terms of what do they want from us? What do they expect from us? And then how do we take that data back internally and match that back to our organizational priorities to make sure that we're delivering against that? And so the fact that I think we have this mindset of really being focused on our consumer makes it really easy during the decision-making process of which projects are we going to take on and where do we even start. We can use that lens to help us make that decision. And I think the other part is we're not using AI just for the sake of using AI.
Right.
We're using AI because it is fundamentally impacting the fan experience and therefore our business in a positive way. And that's our goal with everything. We are not just using technology for technology's sake. You've heard me say that a lot today, and that's because we fundamentally believe that as an organization. So we want to really use technology in a way that enables and empowers our business, both on the business side, on the basketball side, from a fan experience side, and really tie it back to those organizational goals. Because at the end of the day, we're all in this room fighting for resources and fighting for budget and headcount and all these different things. So you have to be really strategic around how are you doing these things to match back to organizational goals and results. And so we've been really both pleased but also really excited about the future. Because I think we're just scratching the surface on what we're going to be able to do. We're having a lot of success as well within Gemini for Workspace. That's been a really interesting area as well. I mean, Gemini just holistically, Vertex AI. I mean, there's so much that we're playing around with right now that we're really excited that, who knows what we're going to talk about a year from now at the next.
A year from now? How about a decade from now? I mean, imagine Warriors games in 2030 or 2050. We're like the amount of innovation that you're doing, hour by hour at the Warriors. It's going to take us to some pretty interesting places. I hope everybody has taken away the level of energy that it takes to push an organization like this forward. I want to have a big round of applause for Daniel for taking a great time with us.